Welcome to Whachacha's Tabletop World, a video show dedicated to the love of board gaming. My name is Sweetness Whachacha, and today are my thoughts on Sky Team. So let's start with the art and component, as I like to do. The art is very nice. The board does take a little bit to set it up, which isn't that big a deal, but it is very nice to be able to, it's raised in a way where you can slide things in and out from underneath of it. The dice placement is inset, which is very nice, and that lovely piece in the beginning that shows your the tilt of the plane for the axis. I gave my friend Jesse a little bit of grief for mis-stickering that, and I seem to have not done it perfectly either, so it's not that easy to do for that stickering, but yeah, it is very lovely. And you know, like the colors and stuff, I love like just the little details where you have the little lights, you know, with the boom, those kind of buttons, and like the seat color, you know, the seat patterns of like that you see in airplanes or in some of those spaces, those shared spaces. I think that's a very cool thing, and a lot of it is it's made so intuitively, like the colors for that player can only go on those dice. You know, there's a lot of little things, cheats and things on there. I mean, not cheats, but just ways that cut down on the bandwidth to be a really intuitive game. So I really quite like that. And it's a pretty well streamlined game. It's pretty easy to learn. There are a few oddball rules here and there, but it's very well done. Now, I love the theme of this game. I love originality in most things, but especially like board game themes. And I can't believe there's so few of these. I mean, there are some airplane games, but there's really very few of them. And in this game, the theme really shines through. And you know, most people have either been on an airplane or seen a lot of them on TV, and I think it's such an approachable thing. So, you know, you can make a lot of jokes and things, like for like the airplane movie or something. Like that's a big one of my favorites. Or you can, you know, just say things like, "Hey, get me some peanuts," or you know, sip the coffee out of the little coffee cups, or make the sound effects like boom, or "This is your captain speaking." I mean, it's just kind of fun. You know, you can really get into it with your partner. That being said, also. The theme is also one where, you know, I love board games that like remind me of places that I've been, or I can say, oh, I want to fly in Oslo because I've been to Oslo, or you know, or you look at places and say, oh, I'd love to go there. That seems so neat. Or you like think about some of these locations. Like there's this one location that, you know, like 8 pilots in the world are certified to fly in, and that's it. And I like looked that up and learned a little bit something. And I love games that stimulate different parts of my brain and make me excited to learn things, or excited to find out about things, or happy to relive things that I've done in my life. And also, like the crashing part of it, like it's kind of fun to crash actually. Like it's, you know, it's a quick game to play. It's very inexpensive, and it's very, like I said, a pretty easy to learn game. And so because of that, like if you lose, not that big a deal to set it back up. You know, I don't tend to like dice-driven games, and I don't tend to like games that have weird communication rules, but I feel like it's pretty, you know, like it's not that complicated. You can talk now you can't talk anymore. It's pretty cut and dry. There's not too many rules about that. I do normally like to be able to communicate with my partner, but the game is so fast to play that it forgives a lot of sins, you know, a lot of things that you might not particularly care for. And like I say, sometimes it's fun to spectacularly crash, spin your plane around, or just smash through a bunch of other planes. Not in real life, of course, but in this particular game, it's okay. Now, I spoke a little bit about the theme being so wonderful, but it also cuts down on the bandwidth, and it makes you understand the game better. Like, I love these intuitive things where it's like, you know, the plane you can't spin the plane around too much. And that makes sense. You know, you can't do that with a plane or you'll crash. And so you don't have to be like, oh, what angle will the plane kill us? And that's something in gaming that I think is such a great part of design, is to be able to both make it feel thematic, but also you don't have to learn a bunch of rules. Like you understand, like you know, that you can't spin the plane around, or that you can't crash, you know, move through planes until they're going out of the way. And I think that's a very cool part of it. And there's a lot of like interesting subtle choices. Like you're giving information to your partner. You know, you might move in a space. You might put your die in the engine space or the axis space, and just to let your partner know, like, look, I don't have a lot of options here. I'm putting this first, so you know if you should move or not. Like if you have something to put there, and then if you just think you should do things early in the round, so that maybe you can take some of those coffee cups and concentrate a little bit, so that you can change those dice a little bit. Or, you know, does your opponent, or you're not your opponent, but your teammate, do they play into that space immediately because they know that, you know, then you'll know what they have? Or do you wait to give information about the other spaces. I really like that quite a bit, and I like the slight asymmetry to the different roles. It reminds me a lot, actually, of Hanabi, where you sort of sometimes you'll tell somebody something, hoping that they'll intuit another piece of the puzzle, and I find that like the communication rules or whatever are very similar in feel to that particular game, which is one of my favorites as well. Now, there's a lot of, as I mentioned, you can crash the plane. There's a lot of insta-death in this, which is unique for a game. I feel like not a lot of games have like about 12 ways where you can instantly kill yourself like on any particular time. Speaking of that, like the different difficulties and challenges here, really, really fascinating. I happen to love games that have like modules where you can kind of play one and you're like, okay, I got it. That's kind of cool. What else? And a lot of those modules just really made me excited to be like, oh my God, I want to try that. Oh, what's that? What's that one? And it really brings a lot of life, to the game. There's so many different airports that you can play, and each of them has their own like kind of unique challenges, which is, I think, very, very cool. I like Magic Maze is a game like that. I just reviewed recently the Race to the Raft, which kind of has a little bit of that, not enough for my taste, but I really like being able to play through like a bunch of different stuff instead of just saying, hey, we're going to play this game again. It's like, hey, let's try one of the harder ones now, or let's go through an order and gradually just kind of almost complete the game. I really like that's kind of a cool concept too, to just say, hey, I played it all. And I'm excited to see what kind of expansions that they do, or where they go, if they add any other airports or anything. It seems like quite easy to do that. Speaking of this game as like what's next, I mean, this is almost, I feel like such an innovative game to me. I mean, nothing in this I could say they've never done that, but it just feels so fresh and innovative to me. This game, like, I would love to see this as a jumping off point for, like with some combat, like you're in a dogfight, or, it's 2-on-2 and you're playing this game versus another, team of 2 players, and you're trying to like shoot at each other and fire torpedo, or you can fire torpedoes in like a submarine type game. You can be like an X-Wing going down the trench. So there's a lot here that I think could be very interesting to see what they can do with it next. I mean, the only thing I could say about this game that's any kind of a negative is that it does require specifically 2 people. And that's really like, some people are going to find that a little bit more challenging. But I can't say anything else bad about this game, because I think this is it might be my favorite game I played this year. It just feels so fresh, so innovative, so thematic. It gets my creative juices flowing, thinking about what other designs you could do. It gets me excited about, traveling to new places, learning about new places, reimagining places that I've been, going through the challenges. It is a little, it's not the kind of game you can play like 10 times in a row. It's kind of crunchy and you're a little nervy about it. So you can get a game or 2 of this at the beginning of the night, end of the night, but you can really kind of take your time with this one. So this is an easy recommend for me. Like I say, one of my favorite games of the year. It's a 10 to me. I love it. Well, hopefully all my gushing will have helped you to decide whether this is a game that you're interested in or not. If you haven't seen my overview of the game, my brief overview, click the link down below. But otherwise, I gotta roll.